Sunny greetings as we introduce you to the second episode of our series, the Agile, Purposeful, Value-Enabling PA. As you know, we're going to address Agile workplaces requiring Agile workers with the pertinent question if you are ready to be Agile. In the digital age, what does being Agile mean? Well, you've probably heard that if you work hard, you'll go far. I'm sorry to say that's not enough anymore. You have to work agile, which means basically hitting the ground running every day to acquire new information and new skills and be in a continuous learning loop. Otherwise, you will be left behind. We've invited a panel of international trainers to get involved in this series to enrich your learnings. And these are Rhonda Scharf, Anna MacDonald, Melissa Esquibel, whom we thank. And obviously they are being interviewed, as mentioned before, by award-winning PAs. And I mention in this particular case, Elzan Snyman and Tracy Messemola. The three interviews that you're going to listen to address very particular questions which are important for you. So question one is how will the concept of the agile thinking process be introduced to you as a PA so that everyone on all levels and platforms around you can understand it? Question two, do PAs have to acquire a new skill set? And if so, you will ask, what will it be and where does one acquire it? Question three, traditionally, an EA is accustomed to or used to working one-on-one with a director or 2-3 senior managers. Is this new agile platform not demoting the traditional seniority of an EA? Good question, especially thinking, for example, of an EA to a CEO or a chairman or a president. Question four, how will the job titles change in the new agile environment? This is always a profound question. Is my job title going to change? Question five, in view of the above, what impact will this have on salary structure? Obviously a profound question. Question six, the current assistants in the various departments or teams acting as team assistants, how does this role compare to the intruder, new agile EA coming in? Who fits in where and at what cost? The answer to these questions, you need to observe how some common points arise when you hear these three interviewees, and yet how their very individual expertise comes through and enriches the perspectives put forward for you. A key point made as follows. Hopefully, the agile environment is brought in as not a way to limit anyone, but about a way to make everyone better. Let's listen to the interviews.
Good afternoon, warm greetings to my fellow EAs in South Africa and globally. I'm Elzan Snyman and I invited Rhonda Scharf to be my partner in this focus project. Rhonda is a well-recognized professional speaker, trainer, consultant and author, and she's the owner of On the Right Track Training and Consulting. She's very active within the administrative community and its various associations for administrative professionals and widely known and respected for her approach and solution-based information. Rhonda has earned the highest speaking designation in the world, the Certified Speaking Professional designation, and earned her Global Speaking Fellow designation in 2019. Hello, Rhonda. Thank you so much for accepting to be interviewed. I trust you are well and keen to go through some of my questions. So let's get started. How will the concept of the agile thinking and the agile process be introduced to the standard PA so that everyone on all levels and platforms can understand it?
So when most people say agile, they think the agile project management approach, which is called the Agile Manifesto. So in a traditional sense, agile is about moving around in a very fast and fluid way. So you would call a ballet dancer agile or a cheetah running through nature agile. But if you apply agile project management thinking to our roles, what it really means is that we're taking away unnecessary steps and keeping only the essential parts of a project so that we can get it done as efficiently and as quickly as possible. So one of my favorite definitions of agile is the ability to create and respond to change in order to succeed in an uncertain and turbulent environment. Very fancy, but it sounds good. And if we think about the way that we've handled the pandemic collectively, we've already been implementing agile thinking. So we just need to keep it up, removing unnecessary steps and working quickly and efficiently, being responsible to priorities and creating relationships built on trust.
Very true. That's interesting. Thank you, Rhonda. My second question is then, do we as PAs have to acquire a new skill set? And if so, what will it be and where will we do it?
Absolutely not, which is awesome, right? We just have to look for ways to improve. So as soon as we rely on things like, well, that's the way it's always been, we don't need to fix it if it isn't broken, of course, is bad thinking. So we can make it better. So to be agile, we're always looking for ways to improve. That's part of the thinking manifesto, right? The only thing that we need to learn, and we do, is to keep a positive and growth mindset. That's what we need to be agile.
Must I agree with you? So that leads me to my third question. Traditionally, EA is accustomed to or used to working one-on-one with a director or 2 to 3 senior managers. Is the new way of working and being agile going to demote the traditional seniority of an EA position? Especially thinking of example, EA supporting a CEO, a chairman, or a president.
Quite the opposite. I actually think that it's not going to demote anything. It's going to promote us, if anything. So not only will we be working very closely with our directors or managers or CEOs, chairmen, we will, really, if we apply this type of thinking, we will be strategic and a partner with that. So we are going to be far more efficient in our own roles, allowing us to do more and add more value to the organization. So agile thinking allows more brain power at work, and that's good for your seniority.
Definitely. All right, so my next question then is, how will the job title change in the new agile environment, and what impact will this have on salary structures?
Well, job titles, as we know, are incredibly subjective. And so what's valuable to one person isn't valuable to another. So for instance, I'm Canadian, and in Canada, we tend to use EA or executive assistant, meaning you're an assistant to someone on the executive level, or an assistant or an administrative assistant if they aren't that high. So you're supporting a department. So titles are really going to depend on the companies and what they value as opposed to what we really do. So for instance, I'm seeing a lot of changes away from assistant to business partner or strategic partner. So they're taking away the assistant because we're not really assisting anymore. We really work in partnerships with our executives, our directors, our managers. So naturally, I'm hoping that this does translate into increased salary, but unfortunately, my crystal ball doesn't have that view.
Oh dear. Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah, I really think it will, but I can't promise it, of course.
Yeah, it also depends from company to company.
It really
and
does.
Depending on whether it's a big company or a small company.
Yeah. For instance, like in the Canadian government, one of the entry-level positions as an assistant is called an office manager. Well, in my head, when you're the office manager, that's not an entry-level position, right? But
exactly.
For whatever reason, they have that title. So they're just so messed up all over the world. They need so many different things. So hopefully as we start thinking that way, they really value what we bring. And I'm not as hung up on the words. I know lots of people are. It doesn't matter to me what you call me, as long as you treat me well and respect what I bring to the table. But I do think we are going to see some title changes. We're starting to see some of that, and certainly some value added changes. So the money hopefully is right there.
Yeah, that will be good.
Yeah.
All right, so one final question. Just a final word from you regarding formal training at tertiary institutions for admins and EA specifically. To what extent should curricula change?
I'm not really sure that it needs to change in a large way at all, but what it typically needs to add, what most programs need to add, is critical thinking and strategic thinking and problem solving. So we're always going to need our technical skills. I mean, they need to keep teaching us all the technical side of being a PA as well. We need our organizational skills. That's not going away. And we, of course, need our communication skills. But as soon as we add crucial and strategic thinking into the mix, it teaches us how to be agile just in our own thinking. And so what my experience is with, 30 years of being a trainer for PAs and EAs around the world is we have no problem doing the critical thinking. We know how to think, we'll walk out of a meeting going, oh, they should have done this or they should do that. We have no problem doing it. Where we lack is often in the confidence side. So we tend to doubt our own ideas because we say, I haven't been taught to, they're the executives, they make all that money for a big reason. So if we learn how to do strategic thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, then hopefully the confidence to say or to propose or to even trust our own intuition would be there.
Well, thank you very much, Rhonda, for your valuable time and your support of my work for this project. The agile world of work is one that we need to get our heads around, as it motivates us to look at ourselves as a member of a team that works in a more agile way. In South Africa, our Professions Association, PAFSA, through this project is encouraging real conversation around it. So thank you very much for your time and have a great day further.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to my fellow EAs in South Africa and globally. I'm Malzahn Snyman and I'm Africa's PA of the Year Award 2021 edition. With the other 5 finalists, we were tasked to work on a project focusing on the key topic of agility in the workplace, and with specific relation to the Agile PA working in an agile environment. I invited Anna MacDonald to be my partner in this focus project, and she will share her views with you. But first, let me introduce Anna to you. Anna lives in Maine with her husband, 3 daughters, 2 cats and a golden retriever. She loves audiobooks, margaritas, and true crime podcasts. She holds a BS degree in finance from the University of Southern Maine and completed the IAAP Certified Administrative Professional Exam in 2021. She works with entrepreneurs in all stages of business to provide the unique structure and support they need. Hello, Anna. Thank you so much for joining me today. My first question is then, how will the concept of the agile thinking and the agile process be introduced to the standard PA so that everyone on all levels and platforms can understand it?
So this is a great question because I think if you've been in this role for some time, it can be a bit confusing or just different to think about your role differently as more of that partner, that sort of lateral relationship, as opposed to sort of this gatekeeper mentality or solely as support, right? So I think the most important thing for introducing the topic of agility and sort of this concept of being more of this creative problem solver and partner is that come from the overall company culture and really come from the top down. So really starts with the folks who have PAs and have EAs supporting them and rolling out this concept to them to really start using their assistance in new, more challenging, dynamic ways.
My second question is then, do we as PAs have to acquire a new skill set? If so, what will it be and where do we do it?
Sure. So when I think of the skill of being agile and being a creative problem solver and viewing yourself as more of a partner, um, that is more so soft skills than hard skills, right? So it's not something that we necessarily can pull up on the help website or take a course on or Google, how do I do a VLOOKUP, right? Like those are more hard skills, but these are skills that we all have. It's just a matter of exercising them. And so it can feel challenging and uncomfortable in our role as more of a support person to speak up, to have an opinion, to have a seat at the table, as they say, right? But the more that we do that, the more that we view ourselves as an equal and as valuable to the team and that sort of lateral partnership, the more comfortable that gets and the less challenging it feels. And those are skills that you have. It's just a matter of exercising that muscle. But I think the most important part is viewing yourself as a part of that team, right? Not just sort of on the fringe, on the outside, and being able to problem solve creatively, to adjust to a fast-paced, changing work environment.
Yeah, that's very important points that you make. To not be, there's so many skills that we do have, soft skills that we do have, and you don't always use it. So you should not be afraid to speak up and share your views.
Yes.
So my third question is then, traditionally an EA is accustomed to or used to working one-on-one with a director or 2 to 3 senior managers. Is the new way of working and being agile going to demote the traditional seniority of an EA position? Especially thinking of, for example, an EA to a CEO, a chairman, or a president?
Yeah, so this is a really great question because I know that level of seniority or level of partnership with an executive, right, can be different based on how long you've worked with that person, how long you've been an EA or PA, your level of experience dealing with different things, right? But I really like to think of this as not a demotion or viewing everybody on a completely equal playing level, right? With where there's no recognition for the time and efforts you've put into your career. It's really viewing it as collaboration with other EAs and PAs, right? And viewing it as like, yes, I do support the CEO, or I do support a team of high-level executives, but that doesn't mean that you can't collaborate and partner with and work on projects with other EAs and PAs and view that as a very positive thing, right? So I know that sometimes we can tend to get sort of stuck in our status and our level of our role. And it's not to take away from that, but it's to view it as a positive thing to collaborate and partner with other EAs that maybe don't have that experience or work with a different team. That's a positive thing. I think that all EAs and PAs can only benefit from this sort of shift in the workplace.
Yes, it's definitely. I think it's, especially in like a corporate setup, you get those levels. One PA feels she's much more senior than the others, and they like to make it known as well. Your job description, that is different, but yes, you're doing the same job.
It should not take away from your willingness or ability to collaborate and partner with others.
Definitely not. So that leads me to my next question. How will the job titles change in the new Agile environment, and what impact will this have on the salary structure?
So this is interesting because so many companies title EAs and PAs differently, right? So I think that those sorts of changes, as far as titling goes, will really come based on a company from the top down, right? So I've seen companies that will make titling more uniform. So everybody has the same title, but maybe with like a 1, 2, or 3 after the title, or something to preface the name of EA or PA, right? To kind of describe their seniority or their abilities, right? But that those changes will really come from the company. But I have seen a shift more towards more uniformity in titling. As far as pay goes, that also is an interesting topic because it depends on the company and your executive's view of your role. So I always like to encourage EAs and PAs to get outside their comfort zone, view their role more as a partnership, and really view themselves as a valued team member and not just the keeper of the calendar, right? Or, I order lunch for folks, right? You are so much more than that. But inherently, because of our role, executives and companies don't always see that, right? Like they just see your title but you are more than that title, whatever that title ends up being. And as soon as you start viewing yourself as being that valued, trusted team member, they start feeling that the title won't even matter as much. And they'll just not want to lose you. So that has a great impact on your pay, right? The ability to adapt to a more agile workplace, that alone will impact title and pay.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that's true, yes. Okay, so my final question is then, do you have any final word from you regarding the formal training at tertiary institutions for admins and EA specifically, and to what extent should curricula be changed?
This whole concept and the skills that support working in an agile workplace are more soft skills, right? And more the mindset around your role and your role within your team. So while hard skills are important, I think there needs to be a lot more incorporation of those soft skills and education around your abilities, as far as education for your team around a PA's abilities to support them, and so much more partnership and taking on more project management and event management and meeting management. And so it's more of a shift in your mindset, but I think that there could be a lot more education about empowering PAs and EAs and their mindset around their role. Yes, exactly. And showing your team your value, right? Don't be shy as far as showing your team your abilities, and that you can go way beyond what was in that job description that you initially read.
Exactly. Thank you, Anna. An agile world of work is one that we need to get our heads around, as it motivates us to look at ourselves as a member of a team that works in a more agile way. Thank you, Anna, for your valuable time and your support of my work for this project.
A sunny hello to my fellow PAs worldwide. I am Tracy Masimola, and I was a finalist in South Africa's PA of the Year award. I invited Melissa Escobar to be my partner in this focus project. Melissa has over 30 years of experience in the business application industry. She has presented to a variety of groups. She also offers coaching for most office productivity platforms such as Microsoft 365 and G Suite. She has published a book titled The Dirty Data, the Excel Tool You Never Knew You Needed. Hello, Melissa. I thank you so much for accepting my interview. My first question, Melissa, is how will the concept of the agile thinking or process be introduced to the standard PA so that everyone on all levels and platforms can understand it?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting how that's done, because the EA, the PA, the management assistant, by the very nature of the job, have always been agile. And so the agile process is then going to give that a vocabulary. And once they give that a vocabulary, depending on where that vocabulary comes from, everyone will be on the same page. But very important to understand that the EA, PA, MA isn't going to learn how to be agile. They're going to learn how to communicate agile and how to understand agile as a methodology.
No, I agree. Thank you very much. Very interesting points you raised there. We'll just move around, right along to my second question. Do we as PAs have to acquire a new skill set? If so, what will it be and where do we do it?
Well, I think that the skill set you have lends itself to the whole Agile methodology. So I think what would be important among EAs, PAs, and MAs amongst themselves would be to have a discussion as a team, as a network, and say, how are we already Agile? How do we react to the environment when it changes? How do we react to the unexpected? How do we handle that today? And then to match that up. So I think rather than a new skill set, it might be a new vocabulary. But I think it's important when EAs and PAs and MAs are in an organization that is claiming to now be Agile to first realize they are all Agile and how the new vocabulary is. Otherwise, it will seem like it's a new thing.
Traditionally, an EA is accustomed to or used to working one-on-one with a director or 2 to 3 senior managers. Is this new Agile platform not demoting the traditional seniority of an EA position? Especially thinking, for an example, an EA to CEO, chairman, president, etc.
Well, I think status according to seniority, status is recognized in various ways. It can be recognized by seniority, it can be recognized by title, it can be recognized by whom you support. And I'm not sure any of those ways of recognizing level, recognizing altitude in the organization, I'm not sure any of them have been terribly effective. So, for example, somebody who carries a loftier title might not have the experience of somebody who has a lesser title. It's just the trajectory or the path that their career has gone. So I think that the Agile process recognizes key contributors at any level. And so I think rather than worry about whether Agile demotes or brings down the status of let's say the EO to a C-suite executive, maybe we look at the value of acknowledging status as a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed, Melissa, thank you. My next question will be as follows. How will the job titles change in the new Agile environment? As from current perspective, this is a degrading from EA to team assistant.
Well, again, I think that goes back to my previous answer. I think one of the ways organizations can get ahead of this potential, and I hesitate to call it a problem, but it really is. One way an organization can get ahead of that problem is to involve all of the EAs in defining what that title is. If team assistant seems degrading, to use a word, then maybe we need to find out why. Why does that feel degrading and what changes? So with my sense of humor, I always tell people, you can call me George, but when it's time to make out my check, I'll give you a card that has the correct spelling. So in other words, to say, I don't care what you call me, I care that you value me. I think we need to rethink that whole idea about titles and status. The EA, the administrative professional at any level, has gone through years of not being acknowledged and not being valued. So sometimes the only thing that they could hang their hat on was their title.
Just to add on a quote from Herb Kelleher, he says, positions and titles mean absolutely nothing. They just ornaments. They don't represent the substance of anybody. As you said, Melissa, value me. Value me. That's so profound, hey? In view of the above, what impact will this have on salary structure?
Well, again, with the IMA skill matrix, with more, I would say, kind of a global generalized understanding of the skill set really that's going to be required, that people are valued salary-wise based on what skills they possess, what they know, and what past history, what performance history says they bring to the team. I've always objected to having a title connected to a salary structure because, and this is flippant, I know many seven-figure-a-year executives that aren't worth and value to their organizations what their EAs are.
Yes.
I would hope it's just an opportunity to take a second look at what skills the EA really has or the assistant really has, and to value not only according to skills they bring to the table, but the demonstration of the skills on the job as they bring value, not to their executive, to the organization. So if I consider myself as an assistant, the guardian of my executive's time,
Yes.
then how the organization is able to take advantage of that very valuable time in an optimal way, that's down to me.
One final question. The current assistants in the various departments or teams acting as team assistants, how does this role compare to the intruder, new Agile EA coming in? Who fits in where and at what cost?
So this is down to how Agile is brought into the organization and hopefully brought in as not a way to limit anybody, but about a way to make everybody better. That way, when you have somebody onboarded, they're not seen as the intruder. They're seen as somebody who's bringing in already the vocabulary of Agile. Now, that's a nice story. I have been through so many changes in my career since the late 70s where the new idea is pushed from the top down, but there's no mechanism to get buy-in. So if everybody simply feels like, oh, here we go again, what's the new word of the day? And they feel beleaguered, that new intruder will be seen as an intruder. If it is supported with training, with coaching, with adoption of this new idea, then that intruder will be seen as a value-added individual because they're bringing that knowledge to the table. This is yet another opportunity for business to get this part right. I don't know that we've gotten it right in the past, but it has to be not just declared, but it has to be supported with training, with coaching, and with an understanding of what everybody's job will look like 10 years from now when this is just how we do business.
Yes. Thank you, Melissa, for your valuable time and your support of my work for this project.
Having heard these, there are very significant points made, I'm sure you'll agree. But the highlight, or at least one of the highlights of the discussions, was on the title for the future. This is a question that many EAs worldwide are concerned with. Should I still be called an EA? What will happen to my nomenclature? Let me read you some of the quotes from what you heard. You are more than a title. Whatever your title ends up being, and as soon as you start viewing yourself as being that valued, trusted team member, and your executives start feeling that value, your title won't matter that much anymore. I don't know how you feel about this. Second one I'd like to quote. It doesn't matter to me what you call me, as long as you treat me well and respect what I bring to the table. But I do think we are going to see some title changes. So the money hopefully will be there. In an agile environment, that the assistant can really be seen as a key contributor, and so the title won't matter, and you all will be saying, I don't care if you call me George, just value me. This is very important to note, as different countries and different organizations may differ in their understanding of the significance of the role as agility paints a new work landscape. Now, these views are particularly interesting, and it would be great to hear from you as to how you feel about having an appropriate title or whether it no longer matters. Just tell me what I do, value me. It doesn't matter what title you give me. So there you have it. I'd love to hear your views. And the question now arises, how far are you prepared to go to become a truly agile PA? At this juncture, I thank you for listening and viewing episode 2 of this series. Our note of profound thanks again to the international trainers who gave of their time to share their views and perspectives with our PAs in South Africa. We hope this has inspired you and motivated you to think things through, and more than that, hopefully to continue viewing this series. In episode 3, we address, what does being agile mean exactly? I look forward to taking you through episode 3.